So we're 100 degrees at 3 o'clock, shooting for 105 today. Some of them are calling for 114 tomorrow. So I'm going to show you a few things that we're doing to keep the rabbits cool. We just made a patrol through here, heat stress patrol, which you got to do pretty regular for some that just aren't taking the cooling. So we have a screen on here that keeps a lot of the bugs out, and a mister set up right behind the fan so it moves that cool air through. I just came in here and soaked the floor down and the walls. So this is a south wall. It gets some sun and warms up. I sprayed it to cool it, and I sprayed the wood, and I soaked the wood. I soaked the floor, because evaporation equals refrigeration. So as that evaporates, it cools. The fans are moving the air around. I even sprayed the rabbits down. As you can see, they're a little wet. Just, you know, misted them. They were a little surprised the first shot of it, but they didn't move for the next shot. They just let me go ahead and get them a little damp. So these are, you know, some of the things you can do when you're in extreme heat to try to, you know, keep them cool, get them through the hot spot. You know, we're lucky here in Willamette Valley that even if we're going to hit 114, we're not 114 all day. So I'll get down to the other rabbitry and show you some of the other things we've done. So here in the area that we call the addition, it sticks out to the west and it gets pretty warm. It's all open underneath for air to move through, but it's pretty warm. We keep a sprinkler running on the dough barn, and it does a good job cooling, but it only gets part way out onto the addition roof. So we have a fan at this end inside that moves air. I set up this screen tarp from Harbor Freight across it to keep some of the sun right off the tin, and then put this sprinkler to run on it. So it's drawing that cool evaporating air from the ground and from that mesh tarp into the rabbitry to help cool that. Up there I even have the lawn sprinkler tractor machine running down the bee colonies. The bees will do their own job of cooling down their hive. They're really good at it, but they need water. They do pretty much what I'm doing with the rabbitry. They will take water and place it throughout the colony, the hive inside. Then they will vacate the bees they need to, so they have room to move air, and they will stand and fan air through the hive. As that water evaporates in the colony, it cools it. They can keep the inside of that colony at the 95 degrees they want the brood to stay at, even at 114 degree weather. They can also keep it there at -40. They do this well on their own, but to have the ground around them evaporating water, and water right here they can pick up to take into the hives, is going to make that job a lot easier for them. So we'll go inside the rabbitry here and show you what's going on in there. Here we are inside of the dough barn, which is really well insulated, and it has the sprinkler on the roof. As that water runs off, the fan can bring that water in across the ground right here in the back end. This area we can keep cool fairly easily because of the insulation also. I also soaked the ground in here, and I've done that twice today. I've also sprayed this screen down so air transferring through it is evaporating and cooling. As we move on into the addition, I hope the fan noise isn't too rough. So directly behind that fan is where I had the mesh tarp hanging, and it's sprinkling, and it's drawing that cool evaporating air into the rabbitry and moving it around. I also sprayed the ground in here to help it as it cools. I don't have wood in here to be able to soak, so it doesn't do me a lot of good to spray the walls. in the ceiling. I did some just because it dripped on the rabbits and cooled them a little bit. In here we have concrete. It'll do the same. You can soak that water into the concrete. A friend of mine just got 400-day-old chicks, and they're dropping. He's losing them. It's hot in there, and I called him. He was texting it to me. I called him up and said, get in there and soak that concrete. Spray the boards down on it. Get some water on the roof. Get that water evaporating out of there, and it'll help a lot. Now, I told him he didn't want to soak the wood chips that the chicks are in. We don't want the chicks getting soaked themselves. They have a tendency to walk on each other and die. But to have a little bit wick in there and that concrete get wet is really going to help the cooling in that barn that he's got them in. So the other thing that we've done with the sprinkler on this, it only reaches so far, but as you can see, it just rolls back and forth and cools that tin down, and then that water lands out here, evaporates. But before that water gets there, I ran it through these copper pipes that run into these hutches that don't get hit by that water. And if you've ever wondered what rabbits do in 100-degree weather when cold well water runs through a copper pipe in their cage, that's what they do. They pile on top. Here they are laying across it. Now they've got it running right under their armpit and across their belly and chest. They're cooling the area that needs cooled. This has really been great for these younger ones that can't get the sprinkler on them. They've got air movement around them, and that's great, and I've soaked the ground here too to help. But you know, here we've got one laying right down the middle of it. It's got the cooling on both sides. And Susan has spread these rabbits out so there aren't a lot in each cage, so they can get to that pipe to get cool. But the pipe itself is sweating also with the cold water running through it, so there's some dampness there that's evaporating. It's really good. And even if you're in a spot that you can't run your water all the time, you city water, it's costing you too much, or your well isn't that strong, to be able to just turn a sprinkler on, let it go and run like this. You could set this system up with a small pump out of in a water trough. Now you could go out and dump a bag or two of ice in that water and cool that water down in the morning, and the pump kicks on when it starts warming up, and it's going to run cooler water through these pipes, and it's huge to keep these rabbits cool, because this heat is the hardest thing there is on them. And then to prepare yourself for it too, that no matter what you do to try to help, you may lose a rabbit or two to heat. You lose them to other diseases and illnesses, and you know, broken backs from turning wrong in the cage, and things happen to them. So just prepare yourself that it's not necessarily your fault that your rabbits have died of heat exhaustion if you've done the things that you can do to try to keep them cool. So anyway, I hope this gets to some of you people who are having trouble figuring out what to do, and maybe some of these ideas will pique something that you're able to do to help your rabbitry get through these heat days that we normally don't have. 114 is unheard of here in the Willamette Valley. It'll be a record. I don't know that we'll get that high, but some of them are calling for that. So anyway, hope this helps some of you.